By the way, a pro tip, we're not in the pressure washing business. We're in the checking things off the to-do list business, which ultimately makes us a hero.
What was your wife thinking when you were doing all these different roles and wearing these different hats? Did she ever say, Mike, you're crazy? Or what was her positioning in all?
She has always been an amazing supporter. I don't know that it is an absolute requirement to have the support, but boy, oh boy, is it a bonus, like a huge bonus. I will confess to you, Josh, that I operate often with a chip on my shoulder.
Welcome to Wash and Win with Friends, the podcast for kingdom-minded entrepreneurs who want to start and scale their pressure washing business so that they can create jobs, make disciples, and serve their city. I'm your pilot, Joshua Brown, and each episode we will unpack real stories and systems with strategies to help you wash, win, and witness what God can do through you in your business. Let's get into it. Mike, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
I'm honestly honored that you're here today, and that from all the content and success you've had on YouTube, all the folks that you've helped out, and then also your past experiences, what you do currently for a living. And so for those who don't know you, would you mind introducing yourself, share everybody where you're located at, the name of your business?
Yeah. So my name is Mike Carmody. Joe Deary, my dear friend from Putnam, Connecticut, a number of years ago called me the Fresh Rinse. And that kind of stuck, as silly as it is. I'm located in the greater Cincinnati area, and I have Mike's Pressure Washing, Ready Wash Systems, and Fresh Rinse Media.
Dude, so cool. And when I saw Fresh Rinse, I'm like, I mean, who doesn't? Someone connects with that. And so I think you did a great job picking out a name. And if you're looking to learn from somebody, watch some YouTube videos, make sure you check out Mike's channel at Fresh Rinse. Now, Mike, would you mind just taking everyone back to before you opened up your pressure washing company? What was the thought that led you into, I think I'm going to start a pressure washing company?
Yeah, such a great question. I wasn't looking to start a pressure washing business. In fact, it was maybe even a year or more into washing that I said I should probably do this. So my story is probably rather unique. All I've known my entire adult life, for the most part, is full-time ministry. I've pastored churches and worked on staff at churches. In 2003, I made my way from Virginia, where we're from, to Ohio here in the Cincinnati area to pastor a church. I was there for 12 years. My wife and I had a desire to plant a church in the local area, not requiring us to move or relocate. And in the interim, I had to have money. So I went from a full-time salary, which, by the way, was very minimal, extremely minimal, to no salary, which was even far less or more minimal. And so in order to provide for my family, I borrowed a pressure washer from a church member friend, a little 2.5 Lowe's quality pressure washer, put an ad on Craigslist and thought, well, I'll start washing driveways, patios, carports, things of that nature, houses if necessary. And again, the idea was just to aid in transitioning from full-time pastor to church planner with almost no income. And so that just took off, and it worked so well. I put an ad on Craigslist. Now, this was 11 years ago. And so at that time, not only did pressure washing, Josh, I did anything. It was more of a handyman service than anything, but I really enjoyed the pressure washing more than anything. Come wintertime, I had to take a job. And so I took a job working in a warehouse. So I would work in the warehouse this is of course again in the winter, work in the warehouse during the day. I drove city bus at night. I did Uber on weekends, and then I preached on Sundays, and still barely making ends meet. And this was a long process of getting this working. Well, come springtime, I quit the warehouse job and decided instead of advertising a handyman type of a service, I would just go all in on pressure washing. So now I'm pressure washing all day, driving city bus at night, driving Uber on weekends, preaching on Sundays. Long story short, the church plant did not work as planned. Our plan, the Lord had a plan that ultimately works. And so I just decided to go all in on the pressure washing, quit the city bus driving job, left Uber, and now I'm on staff at a church as missions pastor, but my full-time job is pressure washing. Been doing this now for 11 years.
Let's go. And so I so appreciate you sharing your story. You know, for me, it feels like you're the exact who that we want to help inside of the As You Go network. We really are trying to target bivocational, co-vocational, or church planted mindseted people to help them to start, kingdom based businesses in the trades. Why? I got two questions. One of them is about your wife. What was your wife thinking when you were doing all these different roles and wearing these different hats? Did she ever say, Mike, you're crazy? Or what was her positioning in all?
Well,
Hey, friends, I'll bring you right back to the podcast in a second. If you've been thinking about starting or scaling your pressure washing business, I want to invite you to our free Wash and Win with Friends webinar. In just 45 minutes, we'll walk you through the exact steps to launch profitably, build systems that scale, and ultimately create jobs that bless your community. You'll see how we're helping kingdom-minded entrepreneurs create jobs, make disciples, and serve the city all through pressure washing. It's totally free. The link inside of the notes, or visit pressurewashingpastor.com today.
at that time, 23 years into marriage, now 33 years into marriage, she has always been an amazing supporter. I don't know that it is an absolute requirement to have the support, but boy, oh boy, is it a bonus, like a huge bonus. She moved from Virginia on my leading. We've made major purchases on my leading, and she's just a wonderful, wonderful spouse. That being said, I've always gone all in. When I was pastoring full time, I was just all in. I probably have an addictive nature. Thankfully, no vices attached to it, but I've always gone all in. So when I told her I was going all in on pressure washing, she's just an amazing supporter. It does not surprise me in the least that, and by the way, with all that I do, I still feel like there's fuel left in the tank. It drives her batty sometimes, but she usually does it with a smile.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to your wife. What's her name?
Her name is Melissa. She's amazing.
Melissa, thank you for being an example
Yeah.
of just what it looks like to be a support. Because dudes who like to take risk and make decisions and go all in all the time at many things, it can sometimes get burnt out following them.
Sure.
And so just want to give testimony and give honor to her for just being a great spouse. And so,
Yeah. Amen.
what I'd like to do is the next time we meet, would she be open to be on the podcast as well to have a conversation?
I can certainly ask.
Yeah, I'd love to.
She's not the public figure. She's very much in the background. I'm extremely right-brained, artistic. Give her a microphone, she'll probably hit me with it, but we can make it happen.
We'll give her a strong why, trying to show support to both sides, because
That's awesome.
oftentimes the spouse is missing the honor and the perspective inside of most of these conversations. And as you know, if you don't have a supportive spouse, it's going to go south quick.
Yeah,
So we need to get in
absolutely.
the mindset of what it looks like to be a supportive spouse. So are you familiar with APEST? Have you ever heard this terminology before?
Don't think so.
It comes from Ephesians 4. I think it's around verse 13. It says God has given his church apostles, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers. And so that's known as APEST.
Okay, nice.
If you follow the the trajectory. And if you're listening, don't tune out, but think through this. God's given different people different hard wirings. Some people are designed to be apostles, prophets, and evangelists. And if you think through it for a second, those guys stir things up. They
Mm.
start businesses. They use their platform for platform. They are proclamators of God's truth. They're constantly chatting with others what God has done for them. Those are apes and APE. And then you've got shepherds and teachers, and they sustain things. And so you need apes to start things and saints to sustain things, shepherds and teachers. Inside of this business journey, it's good to know where you're at inside of this mindset, because if you try to be a shepherd teacher and you're really gifted at being an entrepreneur, evangelizing, or
Beautiful.
yeah, you just have to know what you're great at. And what you're great at is you're an ape. You're an apostle. You start things, and then someone else comes in and sustains things. And so it's same thing with business. And I want us to think about anybody that's going to start a kingdom-minded business or grow a business. Are you more of one to have systems and management and structure and just teach things? That means you're more of a manager type role or a shepherd teacher, which is great. And you need somebody, if you start a business, to kind of be that platform person.
Beautiful, beautiful thought.
All right. So all these businesses that you've got, when you started, you're doing Uber, you're doing Lyft, same thing, probably the same time that you were doing about 11 years ago.
Mhm.
You ended up putting all those down and going all in on pressure washing. Why pressure washing?
Pressure washing allowed me sustainable income while also allowing me to minister in the community. It could have been anything, but I recognized it right off as being a path that the Lord would just lay in my lap. What I got the most fulfillment out of was taking nothing and making it something, and also I often tell even my customers that we're in the smiles business. The whole idea is to help people check things off their to-do list. If you can do that, by the way, a pro tip, we're not in the pressure washing business. We're in the checking things off the to-do list business, which ultimately makes us a hero. And my average closing time is between 3 and 5 minutes on the phone. And I have learned that when you can do that plus schedule them, and I should just say, the sooner you can do that, the more you become a hero in their mind. From that, it gives you leverage in confidence. And so customers very confident that you are who you say that you're going to be. And ultimately, the goal is to lay a hand on his shoulder and say, "Can I pray with you?" That doesn't happen even every day, but I get to minister so much within the framework, the ministry of pressure washing. And so we clean the outside, the Lord cleans the inside. What a great team this becomes.
Yeah, I love what you just said. And was there ever a mindset shift that helped you understand that, hey, I'm not just providing a service, I'm providing an opportunity to be a pathway of God's presence on a patio or on a porch?
Yeah, and by the way, that shift has to happen on a regular basis because it's easy to get away from that. It's easy to allow the pressures of business ownership coupled with the possibilities of making really good money to override this whole concept of kingdom building within the platform of business. So as Paul said, I die daily. We really have to rejuvenate this mentality and this understanding on a regular basis. I don't know that I can go back and say it was at this point. I want to believe that I've always been kingdom minded. But I find that often I become thingdom minded and the thing becomes the business itself. And I want to build the business and I become thingdom minded and that overrides the kingdom minded. And I have to do a checkup from the neck up and say, Lord, I'm kind of getting off kilter here and out of my lane, out of your lane. I need to get back in. And the Lord has a way of doing that, usually through something humbling. So I find that if we can humble ourselves, we don't have to wait on his humbling. And if we wait on his, It's more risky. So I don't know if I can take you back to a particular time, but it's a daily struggle.
What you just said is so real. And my hope was to get into conversations on creating jobs and scaling your business, but the pathway of our conversation seems like it's more leaned on disciplines or learning to become disciplined. And so I kind of want to stick on this just for, a few more minutes or maybe the rest of our time together. Have you noticed certain patterns in your life that when you practice certain things, you're more likely to be present. You're more likely to take the time to prayer. You're less thingdom business or thingdom minded, and you're more kingdom. Is there any disciplines or any things that you've learned on how to be more kingdom minded wherever you are?
Yeah, early to rise.
Sharpen.
It's just early to rise. Here's what we know. Our enthusiasm and our energy may be very contagious and motivating, but our systems and our philosophies, they don't lie. Like I can say I want to lose weight or get healthy, and I can say that in such a vibrant, enthusiastic way that others believe me, but my practices tell a different story. And man, listen, if I can add an additional day to my day by getting up early. And so I'm usually up around the 5:30 mark. That's when I get into my Bible study and my reading and prayer and meditation before most people are even awake. And I have another aspect to ministry. I coach about 50 guys, and I do this through video and live as well, but mostly recorded video, much like what you're doing here. And I got to do that early. All that has to be done early. So, yeah, our systems tell the truth. They don't lie. And you can say you want to get out of debt. You can say that. But if you're not practicing true discipline in every fashion, then ultimately lies revealed. What's done in darkness is revealed in the light, right? Yeah, early to rise, just the discipline that changes everything.
For someone that's never, pretend for a second that there's a video camera following you and it's 4:30, you're still asleep.
Yeah.
Walk me through the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes for anybody that's like, okay, I might want to try to do what Mike does. Just walk me through that first, your eyes wake up. What happens the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes?
Yeah. The key is stop scrolling. You don't have to stop scrolling if you don't begin scrolling. So that first hour, stay away from your phone, from screen time, if possible. Of course, a lot of times we'll read from our screen, and I do that regularly. But for me, it's just simple things of the brushing of the teeth and so forth. In this room, which is just my living room, this is kind of a sanctuary for me. I open my Bible and I ask the Lord to blow my mind. I literally say, Lord, blow my mind. And he does. He always does. It may be a simple reading that leads into something else, but Lord, blow my mind. And it's not until I finish that season with the Lord that I then get into business of the day. And by the way, most of that time is with a cup of coffee. I confess. Love my coffee in the morning. And then from there, it's heading out on the journey. I'm usually at the shop no later than 6:30, beginning the day. That's when I do a lot of my videos for my Exclusively Fresh members. That's the name of my other channel where I teach and train specifically pressure washers, Exclusively Fresh. I begin there, and then head out on my journey, usually at my first stop of the day around 8:30 in the morning, home by 4:30, clock out, Lord willing, and start preparing for the next day.
Mike, I just want to thank you for sharing all of that information to our guests. If anybody's listening and you're trying to process, okay, what does it look like to be intentional with your habits? You just got an insight From a dude who's been doing it for, would you say you've been practicing that for, or at least attempting to practice that daily for 11 years, or has it been longer?
Oh yeah, much longer than that. Many years ago, if I can just go back just for a second, I was not a high school dropout, but I wanted to be. I was a terrible student. And I know we hear people talk. I mean that sincerely. Like they're at the top of the class because of people like me. If it weren't for people like me, they would just be the class, right? But you have to have people who can't make the grade in order for there to be the top of the class. So I barely made it through high school. I was kicked out of my first year of community college for bad grades. And but when I discovered my love for the scriptures, that's when I began to learn. I have now college degrees I don't even showcase through ministry, of course. And, but that required me to get up super early. So when I was getting my education, it was 4:30 and 4:45, 5 o'clock in the Word, and that has just prepared me. So it's nothing now for me to get up super early to begin my day with the Lord. But it takes time. Means for those of you who struggle with that, it means 10 minutes and then 15 minutes and then 20 minutes and just 3 to 5 minute increments to get up early. And by the way, once you create this muscle, it doesn't go away. You only want to build it. You then begin to challenge yourself. I wonder how much earlier I can get up and just take a 10-minute nap at some point during the day, right? Just to get that energy back. I'm always saying this. I still feel like there's fuel left in the tank by God's grace. So people say, how do you get so much done? Well, it starts with getting up early, but yeah, there's fuel left in the tank. I believe that.
What's your why behind the what you do?
Gosh, I would have loved to have had preparation for that question.
All right, and then I'm going to chat just for a second while you come. This is our final question, and if you're open to it, I'd love to have you on every month to pick your brain, to talk about getting jobs, making disciples, serving the city. But there is a why behind every single thing that we do, and understanding what motivates us to wake up at 5 o'clock, or what motivates us to be a good husband, or what motivates us to build a business, a YouTube channel. I believe, and this is inside the Uplift video courses, the very first course is all about mindset. And it's coming up with the why behind the what and writing it down and remembering this is the why behind what you're trying to build and what you're trying to do. Was that enough time?
Yeah, no, probably not, but that's okay. As I consider the question, answer changes. I wish I could say, oh, it's just because of I want to live a life that's kingdom minded and for the glory of God.
Let me take a break from the podcast to let you know that I get asked the following question all the time. Joshua, you've grown a multi-million-dollar pressure washing business. You've launched other locations. If you were me, what would you do to scale my business? I would join a coaching community. Join somebody's, because you're way more likely to scale rather than fail if you surround yourself with the right people. Inside our community, everything we do is centered around three things: create jobs, make disciples, and serve your city. If you are ready to grow, I want you to head over to pressurewashingpastor.com and sign up for a free webinar today.
I will confess to you, Josh, that I operate often with a chip on my shoulder. Now, hear me out on this. When I try to self-diagnose this, what I've determined is that the chip on my shoulder isn't towards someone else. It's not a grudge that I'm holding against haters or naysayers, but it's a grudge that I hold against myself for not always being disciplined. And getting up at 5 and 5:30 is just one of the disciplines. Hear me out on this. I'm going to go through a pedigree here that is by the grace of God. These are all privileges that have been allotted to me by the grace of God. So we go. white, male, American, heterosexual, born and raised in the Bible Belt, saved at an early age, good parents, hardworking parents, loving parents, no criminal record, well respected in the community, relatively healthy. If that type of person were to walk in for an interview at your job, you would say, no, 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 don't walk out. How much do I have to pay you to stay? Right? That like all of that is who I am. But if I then say I lack discipline, all of a sudden that erases everything else. On the other hand, if I tell you that I'm not from America, I don't speak the language fluently, I'm not very well educated, I have a criminal background that by God's grace I'm overcoming, I have some vices that I struggle with, but I'm extremely disciplined. You see, like you can have the perfect slate, but lack discipline, and everyone questions your integrity and they and have zero confidence in you. On the other hand, if you have all of those negatives, but say, I'm extremely disciplined in these last years to change all of that, I want that guy. I want that guy. That's who I'm looking for. So I can't prop myself up with all of these privileges that I have that were all by the grace of God. The thing that he doesn't give me that I have to work on daily is discipline. He gave me my American citizenship. He gave me my faith. He gave me all of these things that I didn't necessarily ask for or strive for. But the thing that I have that is my ownership is my own discipline.
That's so good,
I
Mike.
give him glory for it. I say it's by his grace. I give him the glory for it. But at the end of the day, that one's on me. And I can't blame anyone else for it. So, yeah, my why is to be the disciplined individual that God has called me to be. And by his grace and for his glory, be able to look back and say, I had a platform that was given to me and I did not waste it.
That's
I
it.
did not waste the platform, plural, the platforms that he has given me, my good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of the Lord. That's the why.
Come on. Mike, next time that our crowd gets to see you, you'll be with your wife, hopefully.
We'll try to make that happen.
And I want to thank you so much for being a guest. And I can't wait to continue to get to know you over the years. Hey, why don't we tell folks about a little retreat that's coming up?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that as an opportunity. January the 22nd through the 25th in Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Tennessee. My friend and I, his name is Jeremy Messer. I just watched the podcast that you had with him this morning. It's beautiful. Jeremy and I host the Smoky Mountain Wash Retreat in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Again, the dates are January the 22nd through the 25th. Last year was our very first one. We launched it on a whim. We funded everything. I got to tell you, it was an amazing experience. Josh, if I can tell you, we did this as a business venture, not to make money, but the whole idea was just to bring local or national pressure washers together for the sake of giving them an opportunity to rest. And in our first meeting, revival began to break out. And unbeknownst to us, I mean, we invited the Lord to attend, but we didn't know that he would. He showed up and people began to testify. People began to lay hands on other people and pray in the middle of our sessions. One person gave their life to the Lord in tears and is now serving the Lord there in North Carolina, he and his wife. We had 40 people show up this year. We've already sold more than 40 tickets. And yeah, www.washretreat.com. You don't want to miss it this year.
Mike, you're so genuine and non-fake. That is so
Oh,
well.
I hope.
Mike, you guys are genuine human beings, and that's why people are attracted to what you guys are doing in Hawaii. I'm going to be going to that retreat, and so I'm excited about it, taking my wife and my two littles. And so if you're thinking about starting is it for people starting or just, that have already started? Who's this mainly for?
If we had to pick an avatar, it would be people who are tired. It's a retreat. It's an opportunity for people who are either tired of the struggle, tired from working so much, tired of not being able to get the leads that they had hoped for. If you're tired, this is an opportunity for you to get away, very informal, very casual. You're going to laugh a lot. You're going to cry a lot. You're going to hear the word. You're going to hear a plethora of angles and views on how to get leads, on how to grow your business, and all of this in the round table. This isn't necessarily seminar or classroom atmosphere. We have a great many round tables with 8 or 9 people at each table. We'll throw out a topic for about 20 to 30 minutes. Everyone at that table will then begin to discuss that topic. We'll break after 20 to 30 minutes of that topic, announce another topic. You switch tables and switch people, and you get to know all of these people and all of these different angles. You're taking notes and you're saying, slow down, this is too much. And then there'll be opportunities for people to testify and share their faith and what God's doing in their business. And others are going to testify that, man, they don't know which direction to go and they're broken and they're considering tossing in the towel. And it's just an amazing. And by the way, we didn't know it was going to be like that. So we don't know exactly what to expect. We're just asking God to do great things.
I might just run this episode now up until that event, and just every single day I have Mission Plan 316, Monday through Friday. The same episode.
Unreal.
It's so good. It's so good. But Mike, thank you so much. If you do want to go to the retreat, make sure you sign up as soon as possible. Think about bringing your wife and kids and get some community surrounded in your life for your business. And until we meet again, peace.
God bless.
Hey guys, thank you again for joining this episode of Wash and Win with Friends, hosted by Brown's Pressure Washing. If you've got a story that this community needs to hear, apply to be a guest on the podcast. Simply go to asyougo.network and you can apply. Until next time, keep washing, keep learning, and keep winning.